Hello, and we are here again back at Nairobi Startup Week. My name is Jessica Colasso, a tech entrepreneur and an artist. I am releasing my NFT Momentum during Nairobi Startup Week, so check it out. My handle is Jessica Colasso on Twitter, and it's me, Jessica Colasso, on Instagram. Anyway, so today we are joined by two amazing guests who will introduce themselves, and we're going to be talking about investments. Should we start with you and do a brief introduction?
Yes, sure. Why not? Hey guys, good afternoon. My name is Mumbi. I'm the growth lead for Get Equity. So basically, my work is just to ensure that startups around East Africa get funding. Yes.
Amazing. Gentlemen.
Hi guys, my name is Malcom. I am the director at Mass Digital Africa in partnership with Get Equity. We're here. Our work is majorly to facilitate information around around investments and the investment cycle in brief, basically.
All right, guys,
Yeah.
let's relax, sit back, and enjoy the conversation. Now, let's talk about the tech ecosystem. And recently, according to a report from Partech, which is a VC that tracks annual data for startups, they actually said that more than 600 tech companies have actually raised close to 5.2 billion in terms of VC money. Um, According to you, being in the investment space, what's your take on this? Is it positive? Is it negative? Where do you place this? Is this kind of flow of investment coming into the continent good for the economy?
Okay. So my take on this first, yes, I believe the investment flow coming to the economy is good. Into the economy is very good for us because first it creates jobs, and basically it uplifts the countries as a whole. My only thing I would say is, as you've said, it's investment flow coming to the country, meaning it's coming from outside. As Africans, we still haven't yet started investing in the tech space. We're still investing in brick and mortar. So that's a conversation that we really need to have as Africans. So it's a very positive thing, but it would be great if half of that money would come from our own people.
Okay.
Yes.
Welcome.
It's a very good point that Eve has brought up. But again, I tend to agree with Eve. It's a very positive thing that foreign investments in the continent has been so immense for the last, I think, an exponential growth for the last, is it 7 years?
7 years, yes.
It's been so immense. It's a very positive note. That means there's a lot of trust within the African economy from foreign investors. Again, looking at it, it's again a very thin line because you end up realizing that it's maybe a new form of I don't know how to call it, but it's quite intricate that Africans, us as Africans, we don't invest. The ratio between foreign investments and local investment, it's quite significant. It's quite significant. So it's a good thing. At the same time, it's a dangerous thing if you look at it from the other side of the coin. Yeah.
All right. So let's take it. Let's bring it home a bit in Kenya. The local. Why does a Kenyan investor see land, and we call it Mogonda?
Mogonda.
Yes, Mogonda as a typical form of investment. Malcolm.
I remember I've lived quite long enough to have that synonymous in my head that land is the safe investment. You know, even our parents, that is what we're used to. Well, even right now, I'm being forced to buy land. And how weird is that? But yet you realize that it's like that because we have it's more, first of all, tradition. I can say that tradition. And if there's something hard to break in the African circle, is tradition. That's one thing. The second thing is knowledge about investments. I've never gone to an investment class for the last, 8 plus 4 plus 4, 12, 16 years I've schooled. I've never been told that, you can invest, this is how you invest, this is the beginning, this is the end. You have to learn along the way. So lack of knowledge is one thing, lack of knowledge, and the tradition is the other thing. So those are the two main reasons that I'll go for as to why people look at land as a safe investment than other investment opportunities that are currently available in the market.
What have you invested in?
The first investment I made is in myself, which is so weird. I know that is very narcissistic to say. But I believe that you have to invest in yourself first. And when I say invest in yourself, you invest in your idea. And that is what I mean. Other than that, I've invested in a couple of startups
Okay.
personally.
Amazing.
Yeah, because I believe that there's nothing as powerful as an idea. And even in the startup that I've invested in personally, I've invested in the idea of the founder's idea. So yeah, I also have a few investments in Safaricom stock, which I went with the hype, that's how I got into the stock market eventually. So yes, that is me in a nutshell.
What about you, Eve? Any personal investments?
Yes. So of course, typically I'm a typical Kenyan. So I'll first say land, but that was before I land.
Overload?
Yes, it's tried and tested. It's foolproof. It's what your parents tell you have to do for the future and everything. But I've also I got into the investment space 5 years ago. So I've been able to invest in people first. So founders who are looking for their bootstrapping and they're trying to figure out the idea.
Yeah.
Some have grown and become pretty good. So I'm happy with what I've gotten back out of it. I've also invested in bid bonds. Yes. And I have an apartment. So yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I see there's a lot of like asset investment. There's land on this side. There's there's real estate. What has been your risk appetite in terms of investment in tech startups? Do you invest more in land, in assets, or in startups?
Startups.
Okay.
Maybe Eve, let's take your perspective on that.
So 5 years before this, I'd say land and assets and bid bonds. But 5 years ago, right now, I've invested more in people. So tech startups. Someone will come to you, they have a great idea, but they can't kick it off. So yes, within the past 5 years, mostly has been tech startups.
And what's the return been?
Some have really not given back anything, which is fine. It takes the lifespan of a startup sometimes. It takes a pretty, between the MVP, the formulation of the idea until the growth stage, it takes quite a bit of time. But there's one that I invested in and I got back at least 3 times what I was looking at. And currently at Get Equity, we're allowing people to invest with small amounts of money, $10, $20. So it's not really a big investment. I've done that and I've gotten about 3 times, 4 times out of startups in Africa, not necessarily in Kenya.
Tell us a little bit about Get Equity.
So basically, Get Equity is a platform that allows people around the world to invest in startups that have been vetted by a venture committee. And we list them and we allow guys to start with checks of even $10. So even if your risk appetite is not very big, you can start with a few dollars and then see how the companies grow and everything. Yes. So we're just trying to change how investments are done in Africa. Basically, that's our mandate.
Got it.
Yes.
And have both of you like invested in these startups personally or through Get Equity?
Majorly through Get Equity, because it's a very dope platform for everyone to use. It gives everyone access to this kind of ideas and opportunities, and some of them have been offsite as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your personal investments in startups, what are the ticket sizes that you've actually?
To be honest, to be honest with you, it's more of money in than money out right now, because being a startup myself, because Mass Digital is more or less of an upcoming IMC in the market. It's more of the returns are not that not an idea. What is the right word to use?
The ROI is not ideally what you'd expect.
For now, at least. But there's always hope for a better tomorrow, and that's why we're here to support the startups, to give them knowledge, to give them know-hows of how to maneuver through the market through our knowledge base that we currently share with these teams. So that is where we are at the moment.
All right. So how do we actually switch? As we said, there's a lot of investment coming from out of the continent and also within the continent. But how do we actually mix old money and new money? I mean, like, how do you get your parents to buy into investing with you in tech?
So I'll give a personal experience. My mom has been in the NGO world for very many years. So she's brick and mortar and everything. But my brother is in the tech, has his own startup. So she invested in him because he's the son. So she had no option and she saw the returns. And funny enough is now she has her own tech startup that is up and running and is doing very well in Africa. So I think one of the things is
Amazing. What's the name?
it's called Nomad Pro.
Nomad Pro.
Yes,
Okay.
it's called Nomad Pro. It's just around insurance for crop and animal.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
So it's in InsurTech. So one of the things is, as young people, we need to discuss a lot with our parents what we're investing in, how the investments, the tech scene looks like. And definitely is to tell them it's not guaranteed money back, but hey, look, you could invest in the next unicorn and get quite a big sum of money out of it. But one of the other things is also, as young people who have a bit of cash flow that we can, invest in this. Let's start investing them in the startups. Let our parents or the old money see that this is working. We're actually getting a return, and they'll be open to investing. Other than that, if you're just telling them, let's do it, and you're not doing it yourself with the small coins that you have, it's not gonna work. Yes.
Take me through a conversation. Like, how would you talk to your mom about this or your dad? Like, what's the environment? It's interesting because really,
Yes.
yeah.
So coming from, I worked in startup hub. So of course, every single day I'd come with new exciting news to my mom, like, yo, someone did this. This company raised, it's become a unicorn. These guys went IPO global. So she started becoming interested, asking me, oh, so how does that work? What is this? So I started explaining to her in small chunks. You can't give all the information at once.
Any specific examples, for example?
So, like for example, when maybe the bus company,
Magic Bus?
no,
Swivel.
Swivel. Yes. When Swivel did the IPO, I came and told her, and at that point I was working in Nairobi Garage. So they sat in my space. I came and told her we had a very big celebration. Swivel was, they did their first IPO. So that's very good. People are going to get their money back in terms of their investments. Yes. So when someone like Wowzy raised quite a big chunk of money, I told her, look, Wowzy raised, but none of the money came from local investors.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have been part of the pool.
Did she understand the word like startup?
Yes, she does. She's grasped it, she does. But I guess also it's because she has two children who are involved so much into it.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for her right now.
Right.
Yes.
So that made the difference.
Yes, it makes sense for her. On the flip side, when I try to discuss with my uncles, the best they'll tell me is, how much, so what's the least I can invest? Okay, help me do it. They don't want to understand the nitty-gritties and everything, how it works. They don't want to understand that, yes. So we still have a very long way to go, but it's doable. I really believe it's doable.
Okay, so when your mom knew about all this, and then what happened?
She started investing.
Okay.
She invested in my brother. Then now she's invested in herself, and she has a very good startup called Nomad Pro, another one called Topical Ventures. They're operating in Africa, Somalia, specifically Kenya, Nigeria, and they're doing very well. So, yeah.
And are we talking about like ticket sizes?
Okay, so on average, I'll speak for myself. On Get Equity, I do ticket sizes of around 400 USD since you're allowed to start from $10. And we list quite a number of companies every other week. So I like to spread my risk and invest in different companies instead of just putting all the money in one company. But like for what my mom has invested in, she'd do tickets of around 5,000 to 10,000 USD. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Malcom, let's have your perspective and about old money and new money, like your parents or your relatives. Are they still investing in Mogonda or bought into the startup world of investment?
Contrary to what Eva just mentioned, my parents are very naive when it comes to startups. If my dad would watch this, I apologize in advance. But ideally, it's not even a good way, in a bad way. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, and it's because we lack something called civil education when it comes to investments. That's the main train of thought I'd go with, because you realize before you invest in something, you need to be knowledgeable about it. And knowledge, for you to acquire knowledge, you have to go and look for it. The worst bit about the old money is the knowledge they have is the knowledge they were given at that time. And the knowledge they had at that time was put your money in safe investments, and safe investments are things like land and what have you. So when it comes to the new investments, to the new startup scene and everything else that goes around it, it's quite tricky when you try to explain it to a person who is African. Let me say African in a good way. It's quite challenging. So for me, how I look at it is, first of all, this first thing we need to solve is a civil education on what investments are. There are so many people right now, if you walk out of this building and you walk towards it, let's say you're going to town, I can bet 2 out of 10 would know what a startup is. That is so true. That is the first thing we need to change, so that we can be able to, first of all, help these monies interact. That is the first narrative I feel like we should be able to introduce. And that is why I feel like there are so many players in the market currently who are doing a very good job trying to educate the public, the general public, the old money and the new money, on how best they can be able to interact with this. Because even
Who
right
are
now,
these players?
even right now, all the money, what is it doing right now? Skyscrapers. That's what it's doing right now. And yet that money, we have so many affable startups in the market right now, Kenyan startups, that are doing so well. If they were aware of them, I can assure you a building will be the last thing in your mind. I can tell you that for sure. So my first, my train of thought is, first of all, let's educate these people. Let's let them understand what investments and investing is all about. Give them the various user levels of investing in a startup, in bonds, in bids, and all that. Actually, that's what they know, the traditional way. But the new way of investing, startup societies, communities, chamas, circles, all those things. So that's what I'll go for. So to answer your question, no, my parents have no idea what this new kind of investing is all about. We try to educate them. We hope we will succeed, but if not,
it's your generation to make that change, right?
Ideally, yes. Yes, it is our generation to make that change, and I'm glad that, especially the role that, for example, even Mast is playing in bringing this idea to life. It's something that I'm proud of as the director at Mast, and it's something that we will do for as long as life allows. Because we feel like it's one of the key areas which we as Africans would suffice and come out of these challenges that we're currently facing. Because if every young person has the ability or has the knowledge of how best to invest safely, then I think would be sorted. Because right now personally, I have a degree, but I couldn't find a job. So many people are in the same state. And we are in a position where the highest aspirant office is so weird right now. But if you give people this knowledge, this know-how of how best to put and use your money, I think we'll be fine. So to me, I'd go for knowledge, teach the old money, teach the new money, bring them together, and bring them to this pool where they can be able to interact with each other. That's what I'd go for.
All right, we've talked about old money, new money, and it's great that the two of you are actually putting your money in the ecosystem. Same here. How do we ask diaspora to chip into the investment space, the Kenya ecosystem?
Okay, so first, the diaspora money is a very touchy subject. Reason being, they have sent back money into the country and it's been misused.
Yeah.
The projects they had set it for have never kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to first...
Can you give some in-depth into that, and maybe why it's causing some challenges for diaspora investing back into the country?
First, I'd say most times they'll invest into the typical land, trying to build projects or something. So they're either investing through, I don't want to name names of companies, but companies that have failed, or they're giving their relatives to invest for them. So they've given their relatives, and their relatives just squander the money. They don't do anything with the money. So that's first. Or maybe they invest in a company, and the project 2 years down the line is only 40% completed. So they still need, yes, that happens. We've seen so many buildings in Kilimani that are 40%. Kilimani, 40% completed, and the contractors need another 60% so they can finish up the investment. Today, I was reading something. There's an IPO that has a bid bond that has just gone live today. And I'm in a group where everyone is scrambling to buy it. Diaspora and people my age in the country. And I'm like, there are other ways to invest. They're like, no, this is proven. The government is going to give us back our money. That's what we need. And the buying ticket size is 100K.
Yeah.
It just opened today,
100K.
and it's 100K. Yes, for a bid bond. It had been done 3 months ago, and I think they need new money, so they have now new influx of money. So it's just open today.
And everyone's running.
Everyone is running. Everyone. I'm in a group where people are like, yeah, so let's do this quickly, and people are buying checks of 500 because they're being told, you know what, you're going to get your 13% back. So I think also a conversation we need to have is, yes, startup investing in the tech scene is not exactly in the ecosystem. It's not 100%. We have to be realistic. You're not going to get back your money 100%. but you might be the one who invests in the next unicorn. The next Uber, the next whatever it is that you're going to invest as the next unicorn. So we need to have honest conversations around that also. Because what will happen is I would rush and tell you, please invest, and you come and ask me 6 months down the line. So what happens to my money?
Yeah.
Correct.
And I've got no answer for that. So a lot of education, as he said, has to go into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Malcolm, how do we how if we are investors ourselves and our parents are investors and we have diaspora who are investors, how do we inform them of deal flow in the ecosystem?
How do you inform them
Yeah.
of current deal flows in the ecosystem? If I'm getting your question correctly, how are they notified about the potential investments and stuff?
Yeah.
Ideally, again, it boils down to how curious are you? Because curiosity killed the cat, but at the same time, it saved it. I believe that because if you're in the diaspora and you really want to invest in the African economy, nothing is stopping you, by the way. That is something I know for sure. But you need to know where best to get your knowledge. So for us who have already invested in that scene, we need to play our individual roles effectively and play it well. Well, what I mean is, for example, Eve, on her role as Get Equity as the growth lead in East Africa, her work is to make sure that everyone in East Africa is aware of this platform called Get Equity that democratizes the concept of investing in startups from as low as $10. Then we have Mass Digital. Our work is to make sure that we now distribute that knowledge in channels that we know how best to do it, through podcasts like we're doing here right now, through magazines that we normally distribute, through our online platforms. So there are so many ways, there are so many channels, so many levels of engagement where we get to disperse this kind of information. And that is why I personally believe that the first step for anyone who's actually curious and willing to begin this journey is to first of all know where you're getting your kind of information. Follow the right channels. There are so many. Twitter now Twitter has so many accounts you can follow that can be able to guide you on the best kind of investment forums you could join, on the best places you can be able to find like-minded individuals. So you need to be around that kind of a space.
Look,
here.
I am a 60-year-old. I am just looking at this investor who is interested in getting some investment into the ecosystem, and I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on any of the social media channels. How do I get my investment in?
That's a very good question. And and here it boils down to how best do you understand, how do you receive your kind of information. So our work, again, as investors, people who are aware of the investment opportunities, trying to get to this 60-year-old person, we need to understand how do they get the information. Is it through which source of information do they go for? And if you are an African trying to facilitate the kind of investment circles that you're talking about, it is your duty and responsibility to get to these people through the various mediums that they access. For example, a 60-year-old person in diaspora most likely has access to maybe a cable TV, right? I'm just assuming, that's just a random assumption. So our work as, for example, Mass Digital is to find ways to reach these people in the best way we know how, by curating information and content that resonates with them on the investment circles around the economy, the country, Africa. That's what I mean. So it's our work as the young people who understand this field. It's literally our duty. It's our karmic responsibility to go and dish out this knowledge to these people. They wouldn't, otherwise, how would they find it? That's the other question. How would they come across the same?
Correct.
Just to add to what he said, I think another way that would work is look at these investment groups. So chamas have meetings that they go for. Table banking have meetings that they go for. So try and get access to those meetings and do a presentation for them.
How do I'm supposedly I'll actually flip it and say, now I'm not the 60-year-old investor, but I'm this young entrepreneur or artist that wants to actually get some kind of funding to further my venture. How do I find you?
Okay, so first you need to have a perfect pitch deck. Your pitch deck needs to be good. All that is done.
Forget it. All that is done. How do I find you? How do I find the investor?
I would advise you.
It's a hard question.
It is, but I'd advise you first to start in the startup communities that we have, in the startup hubs that we have. That's a very good place. We have
Nilab,
Nairobi Garage. We have Kofisi. We have
Nilab,
Nilabs.
I have.
We
There's
have
so
so
many.
many.
I love
Yes.
Africa.
And you find a lot of times the startups that sit there that have already become big, quote unquote, they're willing to mentor, advice, and some of them even invest in new ideas that are coming up.
Yeah.
Yes. That I have seen for myself, at least in the few startups that I've sat in.
Okay.
So you need to expose yourself to individuals who are like you, who would be willing to listen to you. You can't sit at home and decide it's going to come to you. It's not going to.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Like you can actually sit at home and lay back and say like, hey, the investors are going to come to me. But I'm asking you the hard question again. How do I find them? Can you be more specific? I need details, granular, because look, these are we're talking to the youth and
Yeah.
entrepreneurs and artists at Nairobi Startup Week, and they really want to know like how they can actually get this information because investors are not easy to actually access.
Yes. That I agree. Okay, so first and foremost, you need to be, as he said, on social media platform, follow the people who bring such news. Let me give you an example. Today there was something called VC Founders Connect. It's going on today. So part of my morning hours, what I spent doing, I was talking to startups. And I'm not trying to say anything, but the number of startups that came from Kenya vis-a-vis other countries, Nigerians were leading.
Yeah.
I was sitting as a VC for Get Equity. I only spoke to 2 Kenyans. It's going on till 3 p.m. And out of all the appointments that I have, I think that there are a few from South Sudan, mostly it's Nigerians. So we need to also be hungry for the information. This was broadcasted on social media platforms everywhere, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. So I feel like we need to go the extra steps on social media, follow the people who you know will have such events. Look at Startinev. They're doing the Startup Week. I am not sure how many people have signed up to attend. They're the ones who are pushing the VC founder. People did not. So you need to follow such accounts to get such news where you will know where to meet the investors. Yes. For me, I'll say that's the tried and tested and I've seen it. Yeah.
Your views on this, Malcolm?
Where do you find investors? That's a very interesting question. Actually, that's a very straightforward question. And I'd say this. I'd just add to what you said. I won't repeat. Personally, from my personal experience, I like to say church, but
No, you know, actually, that could be true
it is
because
to me that is true.
your first investor
Yeah.
actually are your friends,
Family.
To me, that is
Yes.
actually what happened because my first person who believed in my dream was actually an elder from church.
Amazing.
That is how it happened, and I had to
So we
put
don't have
myself
to go
out
far,
there.
right?
No, you don't have to go
Just
far.
within,
No,
we just need to look within our circle.
You actually
that?
your first investor is yourself. Look at what you have. How much can I plug into my business? Then look at within your circle, within your
If you
immediate
have zero
circle.
shillings, then
Then if you had zero
I
shillings,
know the knowledge and
Yeah.
all the things are investment, but
Ju-
then you need money. Come on,
I agree.
to do the MVP.
Look
then
at the
what do you do?
look at the next person who's accessible to you.
Yeah,
Don't be afraid. You know, the worst thing they can say is no.
Yes.
tell them.
The worst thing they can say is no. Let me tell them now. So you don't have to be afraid to go for what your heart desires. I normally tell people that which sets your soul on fire, you know? It just you cannot sleep when you think about it. That is an idea when you share with someone, and trust me, they will resonate with it. Because I can tell you for sure, even my first investor, they didn't invest on the idea.
They invested in you as a person.
They invested in me as
Yes.
Malcolm because they saw the fire in me, and because of that investment, I'm here sitting talking to you guys today. You know, so the first step is look at what you have. Even the Bible, if you believe in God, the Bible says when Moses was going to Israel, God asked him, "What do you have in your hand?" You know, so that which you have, that which is readily accessible to you, start with that. Then go go to this, plug yourself, be curious. I normally say, stay curious, stay hungry. Be always on the lookout for these opportunities, for these people, for the talks, for the conversations. Go to these places. NILAB is free nowadays. You know, there's a free membership where you can go meet up with developers or people in your space, people in your industry. Talk with them. Look for events. Go to these events. There are apps that help you even get information on how best you can be able to get access to funding. There are applications actually through your phone that does that for you. We are so lazy to that point, you know. So there's no excuse, literally. I can say that there's no excuse. The excuse is your limitations. It's your head. It's in your mind. So it's you to actually go out and look for opportunities, because opportunities are readily available. I can tell you that for sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So far, in terms of, I think it's amazing that you can invest as little as like $10 to $100
Yeah.
in a venture or in something that you're actually passionate about and seeing that it has potential. How does it work?
So I'll speak on behalf of Get Equity. So what we noticed is for you as an investor to get into the circles that make the investment or that have access to like the Baobabs, the Patex, the ones who are investing the big ticket sizes, it's not that easy. So we figured the best thing is just to get a decentralized system that will help them. So ideally what you do is just go on to Get Equity, sign up as an investor, you link your card, there's M-Pesa, and that's it. Look to the different companies that are listed there. Let's say you're interested in health tech or you're interested in insure tech. Look for something in you, something that you understand also. Look at the companies, they have everything is on there. Their pitch deck, everything is on there.
Who
Then pick
validates
what
that?
we have a venture team around the world that validates that.
Amazing.
Yes, so we have different people around the world, and most of the people don't know each other. So the email just comes in and shows that yes, this person says yes, this person says yes, this one says no because of ABCD. Yes, but
What
it's a
does
very vigorous due diligence process.
what does a venture team look for in the due diligence process to ensure that the investor has confidence when they're putting money in this?
So number one, traction.
Mhm.
We want to see that you have believed in your own idea first and you have put a bit into it and has a bit of traction. So you have a bit of revenue, not too much, just a bit of revenue. Then also number two, what we look at is the idea scalable? Everyone wants to invest in an idea where at least I know it's scalable, so my money will grow faster. That's number two. Then we also look for companies that have more than one founder. It's important to have a diverse team that is leading the company. So at least if a company has more than two founders, you're confident that there are two different brains working behind the scenes for this company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And what kind of success have you had? Like someone putting in $100. What has their return been?
I'll speak for myself. I put in a company, we did with a friend of mine, we did $240. That was just a random company, and our return was 4x.
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 So you got
Yes.
about 800.
$800, and that was in a span because they were able to raise pretty quickly and go into the secondary market. That was in a span of about 6 months. So for us, that was
that's amazing.
good. Yes.
That's quite interesting.
Yes.
Way of investing and getting your returns.
Yes.
What about your traditional investments? How have they performed?
Wow. So right now, because of the bubble that's happening, definitely the land, nothing much is happening there. The apartment, it's rented out. But even if I sold it right now, I wouldn't sell it at what I had bought it for.
Its value?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Malcolm,
Yeah.
can you do what Get Equity is doing? It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Get 4x return in 6 months in a startup
I can imagine.
at that.
It was so interesting that we partnered with them.
Yes.
Amazing. That's why you're here today.
It
Yeah,
was
so
so
tell
interesting
me
to
more.
us because we realized that whatever they're doing, when we had the solution that they're offering, it was something that we needed. It's a solution Africa needs. Young people need that solution because it literally, when you think about investment as a young person, you already think of ICA Lion, you think of people out here, you're like, interesting. It's a good thing, but again, the Get Equity now changes all that. How so? Imagine they democratize that whole solution for you. They have taken you and given you a solution. So to us, we saw it as an opportunity to at least give a partner with them and spread the roots even further into the East African market. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to bring this knowledge out, this idea out that, you know what, if you fear about investing and investments, there's a whole platform created for you. Just to your work is to join and listen and learn. It's as simple as ABC. We have a whole Telegram community where you can join, learn from the best founders ever, learn from the best investors, from the best team ever about investing and the investment scene within the region. So to us, it's something phenomenal. It's something that we hope that everyone could be able to get into, and encourage even more players to come into the industry, because it's something. It's a solution. It's an industry that is still young. It's an industry that there's still a lot of potential, especially in Africa, and I can't wait for a day where Africans work for Africa. That's something that we are looking forward to. And this is one of the first steps, having such conversations on how best we can be able to invest in our own internally made solutions. And that's what we are looking forward to. Yes.
Okay. Let's go a bit into vehicles that are challenging the status quo for the traditional investing in the different spaces. What other examples have you seen out there that I, as an investor or older people who want to be in the investment space, can actually tap into?
Pardon? What other?
What are the other vehicles that, or special purpose vehicles that
are currently
investors,
curated?
Yeah, can actually look at?
Traditionally or in the modern way?
Both, the hybrid. There's the SACCOs, and you can actually. I don't know if I don't know if like a startup or artist has actually ever approached a SACCO and said, "Hey, can you invest in me? You'll get X return."
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so, but that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. So the special SPVs that have been set up, I can talk about Kenya currently.
Yeah.
I know of several hubs or several solutions that are currently available for anyone who's seeking to enter into the market, where they've been curated for that special purpose, specifically for that. Should I mention names, really? We can look like there are several guys out here.
I think it's good to mention a couple of examples.
I'll say something like Fig Africa. Fig Africa, they're doing Fig Africa. They're almost doing what Get Equity is doing, which is more. It's really commendable. But there's a slight twist to it, so you can actually check it out. You can check them out. We have ICA Lion, which when they merged, they brought out a whole new aspect of investing, which I actually.
ICA Lion.
Yes.
That's new to me.
I didn't know that.
What are they doing?
I see a Lion Group. There's how best can I put it? When it comes to MMF and money market funds, I think they're the best in terms of the traditional aspect of things. So now they're trying to bring technology into this industry of money markets.
Got it.
And to me, I found that concept really fascinating. I even invested $500,000 into it. Because they give you returns it's after 10 years, but if I die today, it's something that is guaranteed to live on. So again, back to safe investments. If you say safe investments, that's something that's something that they are doing, and they've done it for a long time.
Are life insurance safe investments?
Yes, they are.
Yes,
they're
they
actually
are.
the best investments ever.
Definitely.
You can never. Life insurance is something that I encourage everyone to take, especially if you're black.
You won't go wrong. You won't go wrong.
Because blacks, I think it's the Africans. We have this perception that insurance is not. It's an interesting.
Important.
Actually, that's another investment way to. Actually, life insurance is a way to invest. People don't know that.
Yeah.
It's a whole interesting element of investing, which I find so fascinating. By the way.
Interesting.
But yeah, there are quite several SPVs.
Yeah.
Fig does something really amazing. I see a Lion does something very amazing. Hubs. There's some hubs that are setting up special purpose SPVs. Google just launched, and starting ever in conversation with them to come up with something for the investment cycle, because they already have access to over 600 startups doing the same thing. So anyone who's curious enough to get this kind of knowledge out there, they can. Just need to know where to look at, and we are telling you where to look at. Follow Starting, follow GE, follow Fig, follow these guys, follow individuals who resonate with you in the investment scene. Then ideally you'll be able to get everything that you need out of this.
I'd definitely say my biggest for me would be follow hubs. I remember.
Hubs has been mentioned a lot, eh?
Yes, because it's everything.
They're always having
Are you
events.
mentioning the technology hubs, the co-working space hubs, like you mentioned earlier? Okay.
Both, actually, yes.
So it's both technology and co-working spaces.
Like Baraza Media, where we are right now, Sema Box is a hub.
Yes.
So would you say I walk in here as an artist and say, "Hey, can you invest in me?" I'm literally asking the question.
Actually, that's a very good way to look at it. So let me rephrase it like this: there are investment hubs in the country that you can join.
Yeah.
NILAB is one of them, the best that I can mention. I can just drop that name because I know what it did to me personally as Malcom.
Give an example.
I grew from NILAB. I'm a product of NILAB.
Yeah, that's true.
I came out of there
What
because
year?
that was in 2013.
What were you doing before?
I was in. Before then, I was trying to be a paramilitary at that time. I was being recruited to join the army at that time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where did you graduate from high school?
Maseno School.
Okay, and then you came to NILAB immediately?
No, I worked for Safaricom for a year,
Yeah.
and then after that, then I decided to now. That's how I actually ended up in the co-work space.
Okay.
And when you realize what NILAB did for me was they gave me a community of like-minded individuals. They gave me a community of nerds, investors, and founders. Even startups were there. So you get to interact with all these energies, all these environments. So it gives you a wider perspective of how the scene looks like from one place, one central place. So that's what I'd encourage people to do. Join communities that resonate with what you want to do.
Okay.
They're
And
there.
if you don't have, I mean, the thing is, if you're not in Nairobi, the city that has everything and anything around it, if you're in a place like Isiolo, I am giving the extreme.
Yeah, I
How do you
know.
access investors for your potential project or art or music?
Okay, so that's really hard. But what I would say is this: let's say an artist. I've seen a very good platform called Usani. It's called
Usani?
Usani.
Usani.
Yeah, usani.com. So basically, they help artists get paid, they help you get gigs, and they help you basically give you exposure. And it's a way for tipping artists who you're interested in and you think they're doing a very good job, you can tip them directly. So I feel like, as Malcolm keeps on saying, really get interested in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
You'll always get news around what is happening. You might hear there's a pitch day going on at NILAB. Get yourself from Isiolo and come to Nairobi.
As I said, I'm in Isiolo. I probably don't even have internet. How do I get knowledge? I'm asking a hard
Let me
question.
throw a question back to you. You don't have internet, but you're a tech startup.
No, you're a
No,
startup.
if
You're
you're
a
a
startup.
startup or
Yeah.
even you're in tech or you're just an artist,
And you're looking to.
there's probably like this really young girl out there
Who doesn't know?
who's herding like camels and she's really good at singing
Yeah.
or some kind of art. And she knows it and probably her parents do know it. How do we get exposure to her? How does somebody who appreciates art or music or the entrepreneur appreciate that and wants to invest that kind of talent?
That's very hard.
There's a
But
lot of
first,
work
I'd
we
say
need to
there's
do.
a lot of work. The onus is on us, the people in the space,
Yeah.
to ensure that we disseminate the information to everyone. I feel like, as you've said, a lot of the information is centralized in
the cities.
cities. They get everything. So maybe the onus is on us to make sure that, yeah,
I agree.
You guys have got work to do. We need
We
to
have a
get
lot of work to do.
So
I agree.
investments is a very attractive subject, right?
Yeah.
As I
Yes.
said, like close to like 5 billion plus earlier. Last year came into the continent, 600 plus startups invested in, according to the Partech report. It looks very sexy, but then we actually see a lot of this VC money going into the cities. A lot of it, close to 80 to 90% is foreign investment. The 10% is local investment. So we need to increase local investment. We need to increase diaspora investments. There's awareness needed on the investor side of things.
Yeah.
There's investment opportunities in the country, in Kenya, but a lot of it is concentrated in the cities like Mombasa, Kisumu, Nairobi. How do we get out there into the Embos? How do we get out to the Isiolos to actually get this potential investment into the talent there? We will not call it young, because the talent can be any young or old talent out there, whether it's tech or whether it's music or art. I think there's a lot of work. And what should we be doing according to you personally, as you, Eve?
First, you've challenged me. You know what's interesting is I always tell founders who are looking to get traction in terms of user sign up, don't start in Nairobi. Go outside, and it has
Yeah.
worked. Go to nearby towns. Go to Machakos, do Meru. It's easier for you to get buy-in from the community than when you do it. Because Nairobi, we have a lot of information that's going on, and we have a lot of things that are happening for us. So it has always worked for founders. So maybe it's to figure out a way that, on the flip side, this information can get to the people outside the big cities in Kenya. Yeah.
Any feedback on that?
I think I do, because that is actually one of my primary jobs, because I'm a marketer at the end of the day. At the end of the day, my work is to make sure that this idea is out to that person in the Isiolo. So I agree with you. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot, if you have a lot of work to do, because this information has to get out there. And one of the things that we as the people in the investment scene need to do, first of all, is to create an environment that people want to join first. That's the first thing. Create a safe space for everyone, because the environment has been a big boys club for a long time. That's the plain truth of the matter. So there is one of the key deliverables from our side, especially at Mass Digital, is to make sure that the word investment, no one is afraid of it. And it's a big word. It has a huge definition in the dictionary. It makes you feel intimidated, but that should not be the case. So the first thing is to change the narrative. Changing the narrative and ensuring that people understand that anyone can invest. It's for everyone. And in this new day and age, it's actually a way you can actually make revenue for yourself and make a living, a real living for yourself. So that is the first thing. That is the first challenge I think us as marketers and as people in the investment scene have, to bring light to this industry. And I think we're taking up the challenge. And I think the next time we're sitting down here, I'll have a very concrete answer as to that Isiolo Mama. How are you reaching that person in Isiolo?
And examples of what we have done.
Because right now, honestly, there's a lot of work. I will say that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring it home a bit. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a tech entrepreneur, but I'm also an artist. And there's been a lot of talk about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, in terms of making money. And I've decided to actually release a single that's coming out. It's called Momentum. Part of my EP Metamorphosis on NFT next during Nairobi Startup Week. As a way of experimenting with NFTs and actually seeing like how I can actually earn as an artist. I can actually earn from NFTs and actually like make an investment by putting my music there and then making returns. What are your thoughts on this?
First, as you've said, leave investments alone. So NFTs are totally, for a lot of people, they will not, I don't want to say they'll not understand. It's a very good thing that you're doing, and I know you will get your money back, because I have seen artists, especially guys who paint. Artists, yes, actually selling off their art on it. So I think the fact is you have had the knowledge and you're able to do it. But as you've said, what happens to the people who don't have that knowledge in terms of artists who don't even know what NFTs are? How do I release an album or a single and put it on that? So we also need to give a lot of knowledge around that.
Your thoughts?
First of all, congratulations on
Thank
that. NFTs, it's a concept that I really find very fascinating, especially when it came out. You know, when you hear someone has made so much money from NFTs, it brings out the curiosity, especially for me. And I think it's a space that everyone needs to be aware of, especially on the opportunities that they present themselves in that circle. Because it's a way for, first of all, artists, if you're an artist, to connect with your audience personally, because now you're giving them tokenized equity of you, basically. Because
there we go.
you know, that is you. You're giving them part of. It's you, not even it's you. So that's a concept I find really interesting, and I find that if we can be able to fully make it work for Africa and us as Africans and as people in that scene, it's something that can be a real game changer. Real game changer, especially if people are aware of the opportunities that present themselves with these NFTs. We had a bootcamp, I think, 2 months ago at iHit, KNCCI, at Attic chapter. And one of the conversations was Africa and NFTs. And one thing that came out was, first of all, people were so naive when it comes to the concept of NFTs and the whole crypto space per se. But you realize that is not their fault. It's the fault of the system that we are at. So tying it all up, if you are an artist and if you are somebody who's interested in these things that we are talking about, NFTs, tokenizations, equity, how best you can be able to gain from them, why why you're doing it. It's something that actually, if you're curious enough, you need to know why she's doing it and go the extra effort to learn why, because I believe that you'll make more money than someone who will just place the album on Spotify and hope for the best,
Correct.
So that's something that people should actually look into.
All right.
Yeah.
And my ask for you is invest in me. Buy my NFT.
Definitely.
Yes.
Buy my NFT. My website, it's me, jessicacolasso.com. Check it out.